Thanks, Kenny. And once again, good day and or evening to you, wherever you might be and whatever time of day it might be for you. Always glad to gather folks together for these virtual developer and testing forum events. So just a reminder that this meeting, like everything that we do here at LFN, does take place under our antitrust policy. This is to protect us and all of the participants and all of our employers legally in the activities that go on here. We've got links here if you have any questions and you are LF members, please contact Andy Eptigrove. All right, and also another reminder, this, like all of our events, does take place underneath our code of conduct. We do not tolerate harassment of any kind here at LFN. And if you would like to see the full policy, please follow that link. And if you experience any form of unwanted harassment, please do reach out to the contact address you'll see in that policy link. All right, so if you have not registered, please do register. Obviously, because we publish information for attendance at this event publicly, we don't use registration as gatekeeping, but it is important information. We do track this year over year. Our board likes to see it. We as staff find this important and useful and relevant information. It also helps to guide us when we make plans for the future, including face-to-face events. So the impact of your registration is quite important. So if you have not, please do register. We cannot force you, but we can implore you. All right, so first of all, as we kick off this morning, really want to thank the programming committee. So Gergely, Timo, Venkantragan, Dave, Matvey, Chikwi, and Rani. Thank you all for being part of this. Everyone here does a great deal of work behind the scenes to help organize and strategize on the overall event, to come up with the structure, to do the scheduling, to read through everybody's submissions. So if you encounter one of these people, please thank them for their participation. And I personally want to thank all of you here today on the phone. So if we were in person, I should say we should clap. That's a little bit awkward on a Zoom call, but thank you, everyone. And also thank you to all of our speakers. So thanks to everyone that submitted a session, and thanks to everyone who is going to speak and lead and facilitate a session this week. You can see everyone's names here. You ensure that we are able to have the great conversations at these events that we do. And just a few key highlights of the event before we dive directly into the logistics. We have a number of cross-community and joint sessions, including sessions with some of our sister communities outside of LF networking, including Oren, Nefio, and Silva. If you recall, in February, we had a number of very good collaborative sessions with Nefio, so we're continuing that. We've been collaborating with Oren for some time, and I know I saw at least one session on the agenda with Silva, which is obviously a very important collaboration partner for Anakit as well for the rest of LFN. And then on the LFN side, we have sessions from 5G Super Blueprint, Anakit, Fido, ONAP, ODL, TF, and LEAF. So it's really exciting. I think we're seeing, sort of projects more and more sort of see the value in the collaborative environment that these sort of larger scale developer and testing forum events provide us. So great to see so many here. And then I did just want to point out that we are having a concluding town hall on Thursday. You can see it on the agenda, and we will be discussing some topics from the recent ops survey. I'll be getting into a little bit more sort of detail on what we're talking about later in this presentation. We typically haven't necessarily done these at the virtual events, but we did think that this was important enough that while we were here for these virtual 3 days, that we come together and engage in some of these meaty topics sort of across all the communities. So I really, really strongly and highly encourage you to be there for that conversation. And then we are not doing daily summaries. So we are not doing the daily summary sessions this event because we needed to squeeze the event into 3 days to avoid yesterday's holiday in Europe. We decided that that was one sacrifice so that we could engage with more content, given the sort of the truncation of the event itself. That, however, we do request that you still fill out the daily summary sections. Those, you would be surprised, but those really are read by a number of people, either those who can't attend or higher level executives who just want to get sort of a flavor of the discussions. They might not listen to all of the recordings of individual sessions, but you would be surprised how many people say they've gone back and looked at the daily summaries and pinged me with questions after the event from that. So please, without the sort of forcing function of the daily summary sessions, please still go do that if you are leading if you are a session host and leading a session. And then just let us know how this works. If folks find that just filling out the daily summaries provides enough, we may question whether we want to continue to have those in the future, or if none of the daily summaries gets filled out and we feel as though we're not able to get a lot of visibility and transparency, we may keep these as a definite going forward. All right, with that, I'll hand back over to Kenny to talk event logistics.
Okay, hello folks. Too long didn't read. If nothing else in this section resonates, go to the wiki page, and right there, front and center, basically links to all of the information you need. Where can you find the Zoom links? Those are embedded in the schedule. Topic pages will contain all of the other session content. And if you're looking for content or recordings and you can't find them, please reach out to the presenters directly. The staff does not take care of the posting of the actual presentation material. If you need to get help, please join our Slack instance. For schedule changes, if you need to have something rearranged, please contact your representative for the committee. And if you are on Slack, the help desk channel is monitored and you can get help there, or always by sending email to events@lfnetworking.org. Schedule is there just as a reminder. TeamUp does not auto refresh. We recommend that you go through and click the reload link a couple times a day, or if we happen to post something in the Slack channel saying, hey, the schedule's changed, give it a refresh. Also down in the lower right of the TeamUp screen, if the time zone isn't correct, you can go and modify it yourself there. Thanks to the presenters, an email was sent out to the presenters list that went out on June 1st. If you did not receive it, please check your spam or junk folders. And if it isn't there, please email events@lfnetworking.org. We can see if maybe your address was added incorrectly, or for some reason you may have been missed from the list. If you're running the session, grab those Zoom link from the schedule, connect to Zoom, claim the host role. Those instructions are what was emailed to that important list. Make sure you start the recording. Make sure you stop the recording when your time is done. Rename the recording and upload it to the wiki. And then any contents that you may have shared, if it's a presentation, please do so in PDF format. And if it's a very interactive session, you may want to tag somebody to take notes for you directly on the sessions page while you are actively presenting. The event survey, we do this all the time. Highly important for us to understand how things have worked for the event and what we can do to make things better next time. So please go through and fill that out when you are done. We will remind you of this a couple of times throughout the event. And with
And
that,
by
I
a
will
couple, probably fairly regularly.
fairly regularly. I'll go ahead and hand it back to Heather now to talk about the operation survey. Heather?
Yes. Thanks, Kenny. So as you probably recall, in February, the thing you were being reminded about rather frequently was to fill out the ops survey. So this is something that we have undertaken on an annual basis since 2019 to sort of understand how we're doing as an umbrella organization. We did actually not do it last year, partially because we were looking at a larger research study that has gotten pushed. But it also meant that we did it earlier in the year, which might end up working for us sort of longer term. But we have now done the survey enough that we are beginning to see year-over-year trend data that starts to make sense. So, you know, two years of survey data is 2 data points. You know, once you get to 4, you can begin to start seeing trend lines. So, yeah, there's a reason that we do this annually, and it is so that we can capture these trends. It guides our team across different aspects of technical operations. We do use this in our decision making as staff, and strategically and operationally to look at areas that we need to shore up, or areas where we want to keep doing what we're doing. And you'll see that we've also sort of referenced some of this against contribution trends. And because this is a question we're often asked, response rate was 18% of active community members as we ended up defining it. We ended up deciding that this was someone who in the LFX Insights board had made 20 or more contributions that got measured in Insights. The response rate has slightly increased year over year. In general, it's been steady to just very slightly higher. I think it's gone from 12% to 18%, which I think tells us something that, that basically it's a steady response rate. The other question that we do get asked is that a good response rate? What I can say is that we don't have a ton of data to which to compare ourselves in that regard. We don't know that too many of the other larger organizations within the Linux Foundation do such an activity as this for us to compare ourselves to. And other types of surveys in the industry out there tend to be marketing surveys or other surveys of that nature, which have significantly lower response rates, in case you're curious. In a marketing survey, something like about 8% is considered excellent. So I would expect us to be higher than that, because this is sort of an activity that means something to your daily lives. But just thought I'd go on and get that out of the way, because it is always the first question we are asked. All right. So this is an interesting chart. So first of all, as I said, like all of the charts that we're showing in this are going to be sort of year over year trends. And you can sort of see that there's a certain consistency in these trend lines. Now, to understand this graph, there is a gray bar chart that is the sort of number of sort of contributions sort of by region. And then overlaid on that is the sort of the percentage of survey responses. So it's not a stacked chart. and that it's gray plus the color. It is gray with the color overlaid on it. So if something has gray sort of on the top, it means that we have more contributions coming in than we have survey responses. If something has the color on the top, it means that we're getting more survey responses than we are contributions. So this chart I think is interesting because it does show that consistently, the majority of our contributions are coming from the European region, and that's in fact been going up. The sort of relative percentages have changed, but they're generally consistent. What I find interesting is that and I'm curious about the sort of psychology here, is that that's also sort of disproportionately fewer survey responses. And I'm not sure if the feeling is, well, we're having our impact by making our contributions, so we don't feel as great a need to respond to the survey. You sort of see our impact, sort of through the work we can do as opposed to through the survey. I don't know if there are also sort of cultural sort of impacts that, folks in the other regions are a little bit more, I don't know, survey positive, or those in Europe maybe more survey averse. But one thing that I do find interesting is that our APAC members in particular have been sort of disproportionately more engaged with the survey. And I think especially during the pandemic, it was very challenging for our members in APAC to participate at the same level. I think, sort of time zones and language barriers were exacerbated quite a bit by the fully virtual nature of pandemic work. And so I think that the sort of desire to have their voice heard, I think sort of tells us that we need some focus, I think, on that region to ensure that the members and participants in that region really feel a part of this community, that we go and try to undo some of the damage done by the fully virtual nature of pandemic work, and try to get some more face time with those folks. And so I think that's something that you'll see us start to focus on. And I don't know, Kenny, any other insights on this graph? I know this was one that you did that I thought was a very interesting chart.
No, I think that you covered all the salient.
Okay. All right, next slide. So this is sort of around, our primary role here as LFN staff serving, the LF networking projects and umbrella, is to provide, sort of the neutral playing ground, a fair and unbiased, sort of advice and guidance to ensure that, we are adhering to our legal governance, our agreed to processes, and that, we're sort of continuing to make that sort of collaborative and neutral, and legally safe framework for the technical work that we do. And you can see that basically both of these track very similarly, and that in general, and that the sort of year over year, sort of the percentages have changed, but in general, we are, generally viewed as strongly unbiased and meeting expectations in this area. So, given that that is one of the main reasons for our existence, we're glad that you are also seeing it, sort of as a strength, and that, it seems a little bit as though the extent to which you're seeing us as always biased also, appears to be stronger now a little bit than it was when the first time that we did the survey. So I think, people are maybe either recognizing, that our opinions are coming from that place and that we are continuing to improve. All right, then from a staff, sort of point of view, this chart's a little bit more concerning in that don't for this year, don't know came up with has grown quite a bit. And so this is a little bit in the your day-to-day interactions with sort of the main staff participating in the community, and that sort of the we're not sure what you do has increased, and I think that a lot of that has something to do with some reorganization that we've done, the sort of desire that we've gotten from our board to move to more of a sort of larger umbrella, as opposed to sort of kind of set of projects, all of whom are their own little silo, to a portfolio of projects that serve a greater purpose and a greater ecosystem, a desire to grow the number of projects. And we'll talk a little bit about this in the collaboration and the number of projects within LFN, as opposed to networking projects outside of LFN, has meant that the sort of type of support and the way that we support has changed. And we've done some reorganization. We also have reclassified folks that were previously known as program managers to technical community architects, without a lot of rolling out of that change, of explaining that change, sometimes even within the Linux Foundation. That was sort of a brand new title that was created at the time that we did this reclassification of our own folks. So I think that there's both some internal confusion, and reorganizations always sow seeds of confusion that is reflected in sort of the larger community having similar questions, and also probably not doing as great a job at communicating and explaining sort of what it means and why, as we could have done as LFN staff. So this is sort of an area where Kenny and his team are going to spend some time looking at that. And so kind of look for more information there. And then just to remind everyone, here is your stuff. So these are our TCAs, and our release manager. So you can kind of see photos of them all here. And just a reminder, we also have our great event staff. And then here is our leadership team. All right, and then moving into sort of the one area that, I think we really need to dig into, which is around cross collaboration. And we had two projects on the survey around that. One around project collaboration within LFN, and project collaboration with projects outside LFN. And this is where sort of the, I think where the most, let's say, constructive feedback sort of came in that, we're not hitting the level of collaboration that we feel that we need. And the satisfaction has been going down year after year. And I think one thing is that when we first started the LFN umbrella, I think the projects within LFN didn't necessarily want to collaborate with each other. So the fact that perhaps we weren't that much was not a cause for concern. I think that this sort of both recognizes the need and importance and key value of collaboration for us as projects and for us as an organization. But I don't think that can be sort of the only sort of interpretation of that, in that, we are not collaborating to the extent that we know we ought to be, and to the level that we know we should be, and that our organizations, companies, peers, basically our ecosystem sort of requires. This should be one of our core strengths. The staff's role is to facilitate collaboration, but I think this is something that we want to dig into. And Kenny, on the next slide. So, it wasn't just in sort of those two, kind of quantitative sort of questions we asked on the survey. In the written comments, on the survey, almost all the written comments were on this topic. So the sort of, talk about, what the strengths are, what the weaknesses are, where do we need to focus? Almost all the comments sort of across the board were on collaboration. And they really sort of fell into, I think, sort of a set of reactions. One was gratitude for the number of opportunities that we've provided for the communities, things like this, where we really, at this event, we really push plenary sessions and cross collaborative sessions, and we invite other communities. And, some confusion over the fact that projects aren't often taking advantage of these opportunities, that, we sort of, we'll sort of do some of the outreach to, bring in a project from outside of LFN, and then, maybe follow-up doesn't occur, or there doesn't seem to be appetite for following up after the fact. And so I think there's some confusion and then frustration over sometimes external communities. So those with outside of LFN, not viewing sort of collaboration with us as a strategic priority, even if it's written into their marketing materials or into their founding statements or into how they talk about their projects and priorities externally, that sometimes we experience some, falling on deaf ears. And I think that that's, something that we can maybe work on, with relationship building and marketing. And then definitely dismay at the number of projects launched outside of LFN that are networking oriented instead of inside here. And that's something that we are addressing at the top strategic levels, both, sort of with our board, with our biz dev process. I know that the TAC just recently approved sort of the new project life cycle and project sort of induction criteria. When we started, I think that we started with a more siloed mentality on behalf of the TAC and the community TSCs, that, it was more like protect existing projects instead of opening up and being collaborative. And I think that we've recognized that. So we've made some changes there. And I think, we are looking, at the board level and, at the top leadership and biz dev levels to sort of, change some of the mindset there. So that stops being sort of one of the obstacles. But in general, it does seem as though these collaboration topics and interaction topics are top of mind for everyone. And so this is going to be, this and other ops survey key findings are going to be the topic of the town hall on Thursday. So I invite and encourage all of you to spend a little bit of time thinking about what you just saw, and please come to this town hall, because we've heard something from we've heard some information from you, but we want to dig in and come up with a plan of action that we actually do follow through with after this event. So final thoughts. So first of all, exciting news. So I think, I've mentioned to the TAC and to some of the, project TSCs, we are doing a face-to-face D&TF in the second half of the year. In person. This was very important to our board, that we have the opportunity to collaborate face to face, really interact with each other. They said of all of the funding, sort of opportunities and events type activities to do this year, getting our developers together was, sort of top priority for them. So this is not, we have not issued a written announcement yet, because the contract is pending. So, please, take this information with that grain of salt, but we don't see any, concerns. So our expectation is that it will be November 13th through 16th at the Intercontinental Hotel in Budapest. So Budapest is a great city. I'm very excited to go there. I don't know if Gergely's on the call, but Gergely, if you are, I hope that you can maybe give us a little bit of a travel wiki and give us a taste of, where you're from. I'm really excited about going to Budapest. It's a beautiful city. I love it. So anyway, save the date. And we are working on a convince your boss. We had one for this virtual event, but a convince your boss for the in-person event. Our board said that it was important. So there are executives within your company who view this as important, even though we know that there are travel restrictions. So we'll work to get all of you there. And then finally, as we end, and sorry, I know we are running a little bit behind and we've got a session, just a reminder to everyone, as always, be excellent to each other. So when we're here, we're one team, we debate, but we do it respectfully. We listen, we are kind. We solve the most interesting and challenging problems facing networking. What we do is awesome and cool and hard, and that's why it's awesome and cool. And so let's have fun this week. Let's be productive this week, and let's get a lot done and get to know each other and make our technology better in service to every one of us. So with that concludes the opening plenary. I know I did run slightly beyond time, but do we have any quick questions before we jump to the next session? And I see Gary is happy to help build out a what to do in the city guide. That's awesome.
Okie doke. Heather, thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and